for too long.
Dirty.
That's what we're going to be talking about today is dirty juice.
All right, I think we are live, fellas.
What's up?
Fletch will be here shortly. He decided to run around and
he took his phone into the toilet, so he'll be a while.
Yeah, exactly. So Epictetus said, "Never call yourself a philosopher, nor talk a great deal among the unlearned about theorems, but act comfortably to them. Thus, that in an entertainment, don't talk how persons ought to eat, but eat as you ought." So don't talk about how you eat, but eat as you ought. Really what it comes down to, what I'm thinking is don't talk about it, do the work.
Don't talk about it, be about it.
Yeah, put more effort into the work than the branding. And, take like NFG. If we weren't doing the work, like what good is it? What good are we doing for anyone that are students if we're not actually out there doing shit, right?
Well, there's plenty of armchair SEOs out there that are selling products or a course or something that aren't actually doing it, and that's
really
the same in any industry. But and it reminds me of like something. I think there's something in the Bible that says better to keep your mouth shut to avoid looking like a fool than to open your mouth and confirm.
No, absolutely, man. I've seen it many times. I think I've probably been guilty of it many times too, is when someone starts to talk about something they know a little bit about, and you're sitting with people that know what they're talking about, or someone's sitting with people that know that it's very
like in San Diego.
Quickly to in San Diego, where it quickly to realize who kind of just lip servicing it up right there, and who's actually talking about what they know. Oh, that one time, you mean when we were sitting?
Yeah, with the rich jerk.
Dude, the rich jerk. That's what it was. Yes, this was a story, dude.
It wasn't Felix, but it was one of his students,
right? Not Kelly Felix, but it was his guy that did authority websites, right? So we actually jump in. Me and Angel are sitting on the couch and
in the lobby, not like at his house. Yeah.
No, it was the house I rented.
Huh?
It was the house I rented, and Todd brought the dude over.
Oh, really? I thought it was in like the lobby of the event center. Yeah.
No,
dude.
There,
no,
obviously. I had a beach house with Angel and some other people.
Yeah, I knew that, but I
yeah, so we were
always envisioned.
We didn't go to Traffic and Conversion, and we're sitting.
That's what we do. We buy tickets to events and then just don't fucking.
We just sat there and we had a party, and, and they brought the rich jerk guys over, and the guy starts talking about SEO. And I'm like, so, okay, I hear what he's saying. I'm like, so what kind of budget are you talking about? He's like, what do you mean, dude? It's SEO. It's free. I'm like, you're building authority sites that don't cost you money? And I'm like, but what are you spending to develop and build the sites and generate the authority and traffic? And dude's just like, it's SEO. It's free, dude. I'm like,
he obviously hasn't done SEO yet. Unless he was sitting down and writing every single article, and doing manual link outreach and stuff like that. I guess technically you could do it for free, or just like, giving handies for links or something. That would work. But yeah, even then you've got to buy the domain name if you want to own the domain name, I guess. So, unless you're doing Weebly's.
I did a lot wrong that night. I had been drinking quite a bit, and I think I ruined my chances to be friends with the rich jerk people that night, because
they'd probably forgotten by now.
Angel and I fed off each other, and like we were in this like let's get in a fight like mood, and I ended up having to leave, dude. It was that bad. I got that mad that dude was literally taking money from people, telling them a bunch of nonsense. Like the whole thing that got spouted was complete BS.
Dude. A lot of people like to consider SEO free traffic. I mean, once it's set up, yes, it can be considered free traffic, but you're going to be paying money to get it there most of the time. It's cheap traffic, for the most part, but it ain't free.
My whole point, the reason we went there is because it was obvious the dude was full of it when he was talking. And that's the one question you always can tell if someone's actually doing something is like, what kind of money are you spending on this? I mean, it could be that the dude is literally just doing SEO for Kelly Felix and he doesn't have to spend any money himself. Like that's a legitimate case where he's not doing it, but it's kind of.
Yeah, but someone's paying something.
Someone's spending money.
Ain't no such thing as a free lunch is like a famous economic phrase, right? So
yeah. We had a question. We have actually a bunch of questions, but one came in about don't Brad. One came in about redirection chains and JavaScript and 301s and stuff. So
that's what I do when I 301 stuff.
Right. So basically, the question is,
we get a lot of questions about 301s.
It's funny. It's been a lot lately, dude. A lot lately. And so the question is the above is this basically a redirect chain? So they're asking about JavaScript redirects. And
I think Mike just reads the same questions over and over.
I know. I just have to say, I got a new one, dude. I got a new one. Yeah. Essentially, they're wondering if a URL is redirecting, but it's delayed, and then it redirects, even though if it's using a 301, like they're asking if it counts as a 301 if there's a delay there.
Like a delayed meta refresh.
Yeah, and I think that's exactly what's going on, is that they're looking at a meta refresh and asking if that is a 301 or not, and the answer is no, that is not a 301.
No, it's not.
But so the I think the thing that they're assuming here, and if someone in the audience knows different than this, they're thinking that anything that redirects quickly is counted as a 301 by Google. And what I have seen in my career is that the directives you give to them, if they choose to follow them, they're what you tell them they are. If you give them a 302, a 303, or a 301, that's what they're seeing. Corey, have you seen any evidence to see that a meta refresh is treated like a 301 if it's quick?
Well, I mean, what do you mean, like treated like a 301 as far as like passing link juice across?
I would assume that, or if you're trying to get the if you're doing a meta refresh, typically people do that when they want to just get one page to switch out for another.
Well, in that case, then it passes that link juice, right? Like, I mean, that's like some of the stuff that we do is based on Google's meta refresh. It
will definitely pass it. Like, here's my thing. Like, I think pretty much, like, they'll ignore directive whenever they want to. You know what I mean? They can definitely tell the difference between redirects. I don't think you're going to trick Google into thinking a meta refresh is a 301 because you set it to like 1 second or 0 or whatever.
You should always set it to 0 seconds anyway. I don't know why you would have it delayed.
You know, those types of redirects come into play like when you're spoofing, like doing different things. Like you use different redirects and different
I guess if you want to get them on the Pixel, then you would have to have what, a 1 second delay.
I would definitely let it fire before doing anything for sure. If you're gonna,
you're fired.
This is interesting. Is GoDaddy's marketing an alternative to your NFT monthly? I'm gonna pull up GoDaddy.
I have no idea. I didn't know they had marketing.
This is interesting.
I mean, we don't have the race car driver, but
I think it was a joke.
It might be a joke, but here's the thing. GoDaddy actually has some very valid things when it comes to GMB. Like if you're looking to, basically there's a lot of services out there that have sweetheart deals, and there are ways to sneak certain things through on Google by using third-party services. So there are times in the past where I have used GoDaddy services and other people's services to achieve certain things in my marketing that I wouldn't have been able to achieve at the time without them. So I will say potentially it can be. Captain Mabry and Corey might think differently, but I can't do SEO like GoDaddy, so I'm just not that good.
Yeah, right. Well, I mean, everything that I've ever seen, like I've taken clients who have been paying GoDaddy like, $100 or $200 a month for their SEO for a year or longer, and nothing that I can see has moved the bar. So I guess since and there's the difference is that GoDaddy is offering a service, NFG is offering training. So I think anytime you're buying a service, you want to make sure that you know exactly what they're doing and that it's actually moving the bar. Because if you tell the unassuming business owner that they're buying some kind of SEO service for $200 a month, they don't really care that much about $200 going out. They hope that it's doing something. They get a call maybe once every couple months, and they think, oh, it's because I'm paying GoDaddy $200 a month for their marketing, SEO services, and chances are nothing's really happening. So
we need to start a service that's like $200 a month.
Yeah, a lot of the times what I see, it's a business that doesn't need SEO anyways, like a business where I live that is geared towards local people. Everyone here knows where they are anyways. At that point, I think it's a waste of money. Realistically, if you're trying to get anything done, I would not go with GoDaddy's marketing. The reason I mentioned GoDaddy is be creative and look at what people can offer. If people are a partner with someone that you need to get in good with, if people cannot provide a service like verification of listings for you, things like that, then you might want to explore something like that. When it comes down to you marketing your site and you marketing someone else's site, going in and getting training is always going to be a better thing, or reading a forum. I would recommend going and reading a forum instead. Painting plastic figurines is probably one of them.
Dolls. Yeah, playing with dolls is what it is now. Hey, Alex asked what book I'm reading. I just finished this one. I think he's talking about fucking Money Hackers. That one was good. That's all about fintech. And now I'm on to, if I could read the title, Fortune's Formula. Yeah, that one's another good one. This one's badass. It's about a dude that worked at MIT that like figured out how he could play the blackjack dealers at Vegas, but now he's avoiding like all the mobsters and shit that run everything. But it's interesting. What?
Fletch missed my tongue twister of a quote at the end there.
They're all tongue twisters.
Call yourself a philosopher and are talk a great deal among the unlearned about theorems, but act conformably to them. Thus, at an entertainment, don't talk how persons ought to eat, but eat as you ought. Don't talk about it was what we were talking about.
Corey, you need to make your bed.
Corey, you need to make your bed.
It's made. That's just something on top of it.
Foo-foo.
The next question is about backlinks. Instead of an archive page template, in the theme, I am thinking of simply typing the post title as is, and when you publish a post, linking to it from there. Essentially, they're talking about a hub page. So they're talking about a page that's an HTML archive versus obviously what WordPress would do for free or do automatically. I don't see why you would type a title again if WordPress links that way in and of itself. Is there a reason any of you could see to do that manually over letting it do that automatically?
No, I don't think the juice would be worth the squeeze of doing it by hand if you can do it automatically.
I would only do that by hand if I can actually craft more relevance and craft more
Yeah, at that point, you might as well have both. You might as well have a new one that you can craft the relevance, and then the one that's auto-generated, then you can hit both.
Well, what kind of site are they talking about? Like just the traffic site?
It looks like a blog, I think.
Yeah, that's what I would assume. General WordPress.
I think what's interesting to point out there is that hub pages are actually a thing. They do work. But
with a caveat, that's not all you should be doing, because
right.
Back in the day when we were running Jimmy's mastermind or whatever, we talked a ton about hub pages and all that stuff, and you would get guys that all they wanted to do was build one big ass hub page and then just hammer that shit. They're like, bro, I've spent 10 grand in links to this hub page. I was like, why? I was like, are you hitting the internal pages? No. He just went out and got, what was the niche edit? Was it Outreach Kings? Was that the niche edit place back in the day? Yeah. He had a monthly plan with them, and he was hammering the same like 2 hub pages over and over and over. I'm like, dude, stop. Oh, okay. He's like, what should I do to link to the internal pages? How many mini nets you got set up? None. Start setting some up. And then like 2 months later, it was like, was it Groundhog's Day? He would come back. He's like, I'm hitting these. I've spent like 15 grand in links now. He's like, I can't figure out why I'm not ranking. Are you hitting the internal pages? Uh-huh. And he wasn't. And it's like, have you set up the mini nets like I told you? No, I haven't gotten around to that. Okay. Well, that's why you're not pushing at all. You know, you're hitting the same like few URLs a million times and he probably bought, with the amount of links he bought, because I was told that Outreach Kings only had 800 sites in their network. He had to have been rotating through those fuckers like a mother. So, but anyway, my point is, when you start using hubs, utilizing hubs,
HTML
don't forget
sitemaps,
everything
though.
else. Yeah.
Do you guys? I use HTML sitemaps. Corey, are you using HTML sitemaps
I'm not right now. No.
at all? You don't have anything in the in the footer, nothing. Taking them out,
No, I
leaving
don't
them
have
in.
No, I mean, just for, I mean, it depends on, you know, what kind of, I guess what kind of a project it is, but like, you know, some of them have links to certain pages, like in the footer, but like in the straight up HTML sitemap, I haven't done that for years.
Yeah, I do it because it's easy. I just shit it out. I'll use a plugin, create the HTML sitemap, then put a link to that somewhere in the footer. Yeah.
Are you using Infletch before I jump into the next kind of sitemap?
No, it's fine. No, no, not HTML.
So one thing
sitemap
that
extensions with WordPress. Yeah,
I think people still miss on the opportunity. Like, you don't have to go out and create all these things. I think is that one thing to take away from that question is, why the hell would you type out that and take that and make that a task for yourself all the time if you don't have to? Like, you probably already have an XML sitemap. You can build links to an XML sitemap if you want to hook links onto a sitemap. You can literally point backlinks to your XML. It flows, it goes through, it works.
Right.
So I think that, yeah, while I say I use HTML sitemaps, it's not something that someone has to add into their structure. And unless you know what you're doing with your modular links and how you're flowing that page rank, I would say stay away from it. But there's other opportunity without creating new work. So don't create work when you don't have to, I think is the main thing there. Seems like a really excessive thing to put on yourself, actually.
but it seems like one of the things that you can accomplish without more work using XML sitemaps that you get a lot of the benefit from that you would get from an HTML sitemap if you're using it properly and doing things with it. Like, it's like maybe you get 80-90% of the benefit. You don't have to do extra work, and then you can spend those allocate resources differently and spend those resources on you know, getting backlinks or building mini net sites. Or
I'd rather take a nap than handwrite out a sitemap.
That's what I'm saying. It seems a little excessive.
Naps are underrated. They're good.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
There is a question.
But, I mean, that's the thing is, like, when you're linking to a sitemap too, you know, it just depends on how the sitemap is structured, because sometimes you've got like just you've got your main sitemap, and then you've got posts, images, pages, and there's like all kinds of different categories. So then you're going like 2 and 3 tiers deep, and you're trying to link to the top one. So you can break out your linking and, like, you know, just to your post version of like the sitemap after you click into the sitemap a little bit. And but I mean, even then, it's like you're kind of in the same situation where you're trying to link to one page and put, you know, it's almost the same thing as the old scholarship page, where you've got a bunch of pages on there that you want to rank, so you're getting all these high you know, trust links that are coming to a certain scholarship page. And again, that's something else I haven't done in years, so I don't know.
Right.
Is that still pushing, Mike and Brad?
Oh, I'm sure it is. It's link juice coming in and flowing out into a hub, essentially, is what that comes down to.
But then it comes down to, is the juice worth the squeeze? Because
right.
From what I remember, those were fairly expensive for me to pay Angel to do it, right?
Yeah.
Well, so like here's the question behind the question that I see that I you know, one of the ways I try to run things when a question comes up is like, okay, like with all the stuff that each of you guys know, how much of what you actually know to do are you actually implementing on all of your websites?
That's a great question. That's the question.
Not sometimes maybe we're doing 20% of what we could do. You know,
yeah.
I mean, why wouldn't we?
Well, it should be staggered too. Like, I'm going to do this first, and I'm going to do this. And
prioritize things.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
Yeah, it's very easy to. I mean, I've been super guilty of like, okay, I get to do SEO, and I'm going to do every freaking thing I can do that I can do here, and I'm going to waste all my freaking night, all my time, because I love what I'm doing, dude.
I find myself doing that with local and maps a lot. Yeah. It's like, okay, if I'm going to spend time to push them, I might as well push the shit out of them, you know, and then I throw everything at it.
Well, and what this points back to is what I kind of, you know, stepped into, which was a conversation about maybe GoDaddy. It's like, you know, you may not need to have the best SEO on the planet to get the traffic that is going to make your business work.
That's what I tell my clients,
you know,
as I'm selling them. What you're getting with me is not the best SEO on the planet, but it just might work.
Yeah,
we hope it works.
Let's make this something that works.
Yeah.
And so then figuring out what your offer is, what you're going to include, what we all know things we can do that work, and we can add to what we begin doing based on the results we start getting and how things start moving and how things start getting traffic and what tends to move faster or slower, where the traffic is, all that kind of thing. Like, it's nice to have a lot of stuff that you don't really use that much. And, I have conversations with other people in SEO and it's like, oh yeah, that works. I don't do it. Well, okay. So why? Well, because it takes longer. We usually don't need it, but yes, it does have an impact. It does have an
I
effect.
have seen agencies spend way too much money on campaigns to where they're just breaking even as well. They don't take budget in mind. We're not going to make any money for the first 2 months. Why would you do that? Because odds are they're going to drop you in the first 2 months. I mean, if they're going to drop you, it's going to be soon.
I had with seeing a lot of people doing that, like front loading to the point where there's no profit, dude.
Mm-hmm. It's just insane. We're going to do this, and we're going to have all our VAs, do these stacks and these stacks and these stacks. I'm like, just do a citation cleanup. Get their on page right. They're going to, you're going to start to see movement.
Right.
And then steadily push it. Yeah, exactly.
Build the relationship. And then as you go on, you can do some of these other things that you may not have to do in the first 6 months, but it's something that you can be cost effective at month 6, 7, 8 with, but it's not what you come out of the gate with. Yeah.
I've seen people come out guns a-blazing, like with every fucking client, and they don't make any money. It's sad.
No, I've launched sites that were projects I owned, and it's like, I'm going to do every single thing I know. And it sucks up, 100 hours of build time for me. And it's still going to take, 3, 4, 5 months to really get established. And it's like, I spent, 2 weeks, 3 weeks of all of my time putting all these great things in place. And in a couple of years, this is going to be bomber. But if that's a client relationship, you
got to show some stuff. Yeah. Relatively quick.
Stuff. Yeah. And that wouldn't have been a good investment on my part with a client. So,
well, the main thing that for when you're doing client SEO, going back to the point of, GoDaddy charging $200 for marketing services or SEO, they're trying to fly under the radar. So there's no real accountability. You don't have a project manager probably, or any conversations with anybody.
You would have like a chat, right? I would assume that's how you contact them if you have issues.
Yeah, I mean, or you buy something and then and you pay for it, and then it just falls into
like a general support ticket through GoDaddy. And I mean, they have the infrastructure in place where they can handle that many.
But then kind of to the point of actually, doing the work itself. That's a huge barrier to entry for a lot of companies that are thinking about going, the SEO route. Is maybe they've spent, they've been stuck in a long-term contract for 6 months or a year to hope that something actually works, and it never actually does. So one of the things that we can do, if we actually know what we're doing, we've been at it long enough, is we can show results in under 30 days, and it doesn't take that much. As like you said,
and you don't have to spend the whole budget. You can make a profit on that first month and do very good for your clientele, and that's right. It's not this all or nothing thing. It should be a mutual beneficial partnership when you go into business with somebody, even if it's a consulting or contract base. At that time, your skin is in the game together. You both buy turkey meat with the same money, right? Like this. And you should be giving and you should be receiving as well, just like Brad likes.
Mm-hmm. I like giving and receiving.
I know you do. Yeah. That's why I work with you, dude.
Yeah. I much prefer Halloween over Christmas, though, for some reason. It must be the costumes.
It's the tricks, bro.
It's the tricks. It's not the treats. It's the tricks. Like Loki.
You get an option with Halloween.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you have no option with Christmas. Yeah, it's like Santa didn't come see me. Well, you shouldn't have been a little shit.
It's You remember all those peas you threw on the floor?
Yeah, I do. I vacuumed them up.
Yep.
Look at my hair. It's going. I'm losing my hair, dude.
Good
So
to
we'll change the subject real quick. The next question is about featured snippets. So I'm wondering, Corey.
Can the next question be about candle ambiance? Because that would be nice.
Absolutely, dude. Actually, we could talk about Caravaggio and Rembrandt, dude. I love their paintings.
I can't spell them. So,
So
Hey,
spell coffee.
something you flashed there, and it's talking about this, but just as a segue, Dave was asking about mini nets and what those are and how that works and all
Dave,
that.
you ask him because you really don't know, or are you being facetious?
I think he's being facetious, dude. But I think we should
another
answer.
word I can't spell.
Well, there's a lot of
here
people
that
who don't
know
think
us.
about it though. Yeah, I think it's a valid question to ask. Yeah,
It's very valid.
So tell him what a mini net is, Mike.
You want me to go? All right. A mini net is a cluster. It's built. It's what I look at it as. If you break it down to the smallest element of what it is, it's a cluster that you control, that you can link from and make money from, essentially. And
think of it as because most people know PBNs. It's a PBN, except it's hyper focused towards your niche. So if you've got a lawyer client, I would have a mini net, like a network of sites of like 5 to 10 that I'm going to use to push this lawyer site, and it's all going to be typically expired domains in the that particular niche. So all expired lawyer sites, which you can find a shit ton of, because a lot of lawyers apparently go out of business, that you can set up. And it's niche relevant. It's got links going in it that are niche relevant. You're encompassing all 3 T's, trust, traffic, theme. And then you build out some content on that. And you can, I like them because you can further monetize those, because then you can slap a call to action on there. It's getting traffic, and you can get paid for the calls on there as well. So
it's a self-ranking, self-contained,
it's a PBN that pays for itself.
Basically, the one we built 2 years ago is probably the most effective one I've ever seen. The clusters rank themselves, essentially. The sites were linking in the footer to each other, and they generated a significant amount of revenue.
Did we have all those VAs build out? They all had an entity built around
everything. Had an entity. It was about 2,700 sites. All in the same market, all with an entity, all interlinked in a strategic manner, taking into account how clusters work and how the bot works. And they all were associated. Well, not all of them. Some of them were associated with GMBs. Some of them were not associated with GMBs. And what it does,
a large majority of them,
I
think, ended up.
I would say at least probably at least like 1,700 GMBs to 2,000.
As we could get them, we would cycle them through.
But what this does, Dave, it's very different than other strategies for like PBNs or network stuff. Is that
especially the traditional strategy?
And where are you placing your links for those? I think that's important too. Like
the links for what? So this is the way, and it's funny because we had someone come in. I actually just got an email this morning from someone who like uses the NFG process, like the system and CID digital links to do their ranking. And they just came back and they're just like, hey man, that's awesome. Like we got everything in the top 10 in the last week and a half, since you freaking placed the order. Mm-hmm. And what it creates, the mini net with the system, with the strategy of the clustering, it creates literally a self-contained ranking situation where not only are you ranking the network itself, but now you have your own pool of backlinks to point to other money sites that are topical.
You just built out your own niche edit network.
Yes, your own niche edit, your own guest post network. It creates the whole system for you. And when you do it correctly, when you follow that free training correctly, you set it up in a way where we literally had 2,500 websites slapped with a manual action because Walmart attacked us, right? Because they have a subsidiary.
Because it was in the financial sector.
Yeah, they have a subsidiary that was competing with us that we were dominating. And within a week, because the way that this is set up, and this is years and years of like putting together a process that works, we had those 2,500 sites back in the index underneath a new LLC making money again within 7 days. Okay. So it doesn't do it justice to call it PBN, and that's why it's like MiniNet. It's the whole NFG system. Like a lot of people do what SEO is, and that's like for us, it's clusters and backlinks, right? It's just the way we do that.
And quick note, it is a little bit older training. I look a little more plump in those videos, but I did not reshoot them because they are still 100% relevant.
The beauty is we can release training and videos that we've done years ago, and it's still what we're doing today, and it's still working today.
Yeah, it was kind of, I would call it unreleased training that we put together for an event that we had.
But I mean, that was even still, that goes off of, information on SEO that goes way back to like the early 2000s.
Yeah, Revenge of the Mini-Nets. The remake of that PDF was from 2004 or something crazy.
Yeah,
right?
so the strategy goes way back in, like even what Bib said is like, if you guys reach out to Mike or Brad or myself, they do handle a lot of that. Like with the plugin, it makes your job a lot easier. You can get a free plugin if it's a WordPress site. But it is really you get that same thing. You get GMB. You get GMB links that are going to be pointing right at your or businesses that are going to be pointing at your website, and there's a free version of that that can give a really solid.
You can build a whole agency on that. There's your $200 a month.
That's your $200 a month.
The free version
actually will move the bar, and then you have to write 5 pieces of content yourself or have them written.
And then when you slap the sales onto it too, like that you did for us, Corey, like it's pretty amazing. I've been going through that material, dude, and
it does. It is crazy how quickly you can scale with that. If you have someone that knows what they're doing
right there for people, I think people are going to get really excited really quickly here.
And that's another thing. Another point you guys bring up is that like, sometimes we get comfortable, doing what we're doing, and kind of I think going back to last week's talk is, what were the things that you were doing when you were blowing stuff up, and things were just constantly moving up and to the right. And that plugin is, I'm looking back and I'm like, I really need to, I'm gonna redo that funnel and just start pushing that again.
Are you gonna go after like lower paying clients as well? Or are you gonna, when you do that?
I mean, I would rather have a ton of lower paying clients than just a couple of large. And right now, most of my clients are pretty, they're big, like national clients,
robust.
So, and I've kind of, I've let that, because the cost per acquisition is typically the same whether you're going like a small client or a large one. So, getting back into getting a really, a larger client base on a lot of these smaller, local clients and local businesses, when like all the work can be outsourced. Like everything, like you don't like on some of these. I never did a citation cleanup. I never did a GMB push. It's just you throw the plugin on, and voila! It's just just like Bib said, that thing is magic. And I think, like you said, Mike, like Google's been all over that particular one for years. It's been around forever, and the sites they're all still ranking, right?
I had a conversation with Robert yesterday, and I'm reevaluating right now the whole cluster process we're using. I don't think there's much to tweak, but it's cool because that system stays updated on like what's working right now all the time.
I mean, you have a lot of input towards it at this point, right?
Robert lets me talk to him. I don't know.
That's what I'm. I'm blown away as well.
I do have a suggestion for the plugin. I think that would
jump over. We'll definitely talk about it, dude.
Yeah,
I'll talk about
we'll do that.
On this note right here, I have to say this. I've had my wife. It's funny you say that, Clint. Is I've literally sat down with my wife while Corey. I called her over like when I was muted on a sales call, like watching Corey sell, dude. And I'm like, dude, babe, you got to see this. I guarantee you, I could tell. It was in the first like minute. I said, Corey's gonna close this in one call. And I called her over, dude, and sure enough, you closed this in like 10 minutes, bro. And it was hilarious because they called up for PPC and you closed them on SEO because it was the right thing to do. And it worked exceptionally well. And I think this is a part for me that I know that I've always had issues with, like going back to the beginning of my career is jumping into sales, I can do it when I need to. I can hustle, I can get on, I can talk with people, but it's definitely something that I've never put systems together for. And so when I see the way that you've kind of honed it into an art, it's sick, man. I think it's really fun. So I really do.
I appreciate. Thanks for saying that, Mike, and then Clint. I appreciate that, man. One thing that is true about this industry and any other industry is that you can be just okay at doing what you do, but if you're really good at sales, you're going to make a lot of money.
Yeah,
I've seen people do that. Yeah,
100%, dude. Because realistically, man, you always got a friend too. If you're talking to anyone out here, if you can close that,
everyone in here but me has one. Yeah,
right, dude. If all you're doing is closing, man, go make 4 friends that are good at SEO and take 20% on every freaking contract or whatever you can get. 10%, and you're sitting freaking pretty with doing what you do. I mean, it's very true. Project management's another thing that I think. How's that treated you over the years, Fletch? Like client relationship, project man. I suck at it, dude. Like,
it's hard to find someone too.
Yeah, that's like, I like relationships. Period. The way I've approached those in, I guess, well, whether it was with SEO or other businesses I did before that, is I valued people, and I always came at it with, like, I wanted to be kind of curious about what they were doing and what they saw and what they wanted to be. It was kind of the approach I took with sales in general, which is something I've done a lot of, but always was like, oh, man, I gotta do this. I gotta do sales, right? Project management is part of your sales piece, right? It's part of the thing that your entity, right? Your company, your offer, that's how they're going to see you, like how well things are managed. It's what keeps people paying. It's all that stuff. It's incredibly important. And when approached from a perspective of, hey, this is a relationship that we need to support on our end, what information do we need to make sure that we are communicating to them, which means we're actually doing, what are we paying attention to that we can help them understand that we're actually doing and helping them with. It's overlooked a lot. And one of the weird things that happens is when you get that piece of it kind of handled, the rate at which you close new deals is going to go up a lot as well, because there's not this thing. It's like, oh man, yeah, I know what to do and we're going to do well, but we may not communicate it great. We may only keep this customer for a couple months or 3 months instead of 2-3 years. That's that fall down.
So how are you setting that expectation during your sale then, Fletch?
Well, so one of the things that really comes into play is helping people understand what happens after yes. Right? Okay, so after we get to the end of this, if it's the right thing, we're going to have an onboarding call. We're going to get all this information that we need to be able to do this project correctly. We're going to have this monthly, call, and we're going to talk about these elements, like all of those kinds of things. It's kind of like this forward pacing type NLP thing where you actually understand what happens after they say yes, so that yes doesn't become this buildup of like, okay, after that, yeah, oh crap, right? It's just smooth. So yeah, the event of a yes and somebody paying you and saying they want to secure your services, it's like the sale's not really closed until you get that onboarding call and you've built more of a relationship with that person, whether it's you handling the project management or somebody else. You're kind of just not even handing it off, but you're a guide, right? As the salesperson or the business owner or whatever, you've got to guide the person through the experience that you want them to have with the services you provide. And so understanding what that whole journey looks like for them helps them realize, like, oh, the actual yes is like, there's a lot that comes after that. Like I've got to be kind of plugged into how successful this is going to be by being, by actually being there and doing the onboarding call and attending the monthly, update calls or whatever it might be, however you got your agency set
So
up.
on that note, like, I think that's spot on. So like people that want to do that, like running a business, like what would you say? Like I think of like recording that so as the business owner or person that's in caring about that can see this. But how do you delegate there when you're wanting to see what's going on with the onboarding and everything? Like unless I misunderstood you, that's a hard thing to be a part of every time, like when you get to, like,
it takes
that
time.
Really gets difficult.
It does take time.
I'll jump in with one thing. And again, this goes back to alleviating the concerns and just bringing the barrier to entry as low as possible. Make it like our job in sales, right, is to make this as much of a no-brainer as possible for people to push the button, buy now. And one of those things that has, in our industry continued, and it still continues, is that as soon as you and I hang up over here, I'm the sales guy, you trust me, you trust that I know what I'm talking about, and then I hand you off to somebody else in the company, and our time here is done. That's one of the fears of legitimate fears of people, is that they can never get in touch with the person who sold them. So I tell them, and this comes straight from the wolf. And and Brad, I know you love this one, but you just let them know, hey, I'll be with you every step of the way. I've got your phone number. I'm going to send you a text message right now. You've got access to me all the time. And guess what? That's enough for them to know that they've got access for you. As a matter of fact, then they don't contact you. They know that they could if they ever needed to, but they don't. And I think just being open and being comfortable enough in that, and just saying, I stand by the product that I'm selling, the service that I'm selling, enough to where I'm going to give you my personal cell phone number, and I'm going to be with you every step. So they have questions, they email, it goes to myself, or myself and the project manager who sets some certain things up. But as long as they know that you're right there every step of the way with them, I think is a huge part of it.
Yeah, like procedurally, one of the things that I tried to implement.
Yeah, exactly.
Hey,
That's
right
fine. That's fine.
Yeah, it is like if I'm doing the sales, and that's kind of a one of the main pieces of things that I do now, right? I kind of set some other stuff up, but like I'm involved with the sales stuff. I'm going to be on the first 2-3 of those follow-ups. I'm just going to be on it, and that helps not only usher the client through the experience, but I can help introduce new people who are then going to be able to carry on with the relationship that they've now built. It's like, if you just look at this as people, right? Okay, you introduce somebody. Well, maybe the first 2 or 3 times you need to kind of still be there, and if there's a question that comes up, or that guy said this, and you're saying something different, like that can be a complete breakdown, and you might wind up losing a client just over that issue. Whereas, like, if you're just on the call and you say 4 words during it, it's like, oh, okay, this is where I was. It's like a sense of place. It's like, oh, this is this place, and they're all really communicating well and helping me understand what they're doing. And this is the guy that I knew before, or girl, or whatever. And they're helping introduce me to the rest of the process. It goes a long way. And it doesn't, it might take some time, but it's worth it. It's the way you build relationships, and the way you kind of build the rapport necessary to keep a client on longer than that, 2-3 month churn that is, I think, fairly common in a lot of small agencies.
That's terrible, man.
Yep.
I want to get to this. I don't know if I have the answer, but I'm wondering. So after February 2021, Passages, everything, someone saw a drop in featured snippet traffic. And so basically just a huge drop off of featured snippet and traffic when, everything started kicking in with Passages and all of that, and all the changes they started tweaking out after that. So have you seen any of this, guys? Have you seen any drop off in your own sites or sites that you're involved with?
100%. And I mean, look at the result though. That result is, there's no reason now, even more than there was. There's no reason for somebody to click on it if they're going to get the answer right from the SERP. So
exactly.
Most of that stuff is going to be just research related anyways. So like it's that 10% that has buyer's intent behind it that you're not getting that featured snippet. It's just the research queries. So
So
it will.
In this case, here's my question to you, because they lost featured snippets as well, and I think that's an intent issue on at a certain level. What are your thoughts? I mean, that's what I lean towards, is that they're not there. If I'm honestly, they haven't earned it if they're not there. That's a given because they're not there. But I would tell them to start looking at intent potentially. What do you think, guys?
I mean, obviously, Google doesn't think that you're answering the question anymore with their tweaked algorithm. So you just got to figure out that. I don't really chase the featured snippet a bunch, you know.
I love the featured snippet because it drives tons of traffic.
It does, yeah.
But the thing is with that is that you actually have to answer the question with, you know, objectively, you know, and the best way to get into that featured snippet is you ask the question up towards the top and you answer the question. You know, obviously different elements on page, like you know, like a numbered list, or you know, some kind of some cells or anything on there, like a video. Some of those are going to help, but if you get up there legit and you just answer the question that people have related to that, then you're gonna get that featured snippet. You know, throw a link at it. You know, and all of a sudden you've got just tons of traffic for something that might not make very much sales, but it's great because it's traffic, you know, and then you can remarket to that audience again. And if there is more intent behind it and they click through and they become a lead, like that's ultimately, you know, the hope. But, you know, I think it's still worth going after, because sometimes, I mean, I've seen a featured snippet that takes up the entire, you know, everything above the fold. So, you know, if you can pull that one off.
Yeah, when you get those lists in there, it takes up a lot of real estate.
That is true. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. This is kind of, I would say, this is directly out of my mouth and what Corey was saying, and it's 100% true. Google is a curation for-profit company, and they want to keep people on their website. They want to keep people on there until someone clicks through and pays them.
What right here?
I mean, 100%, no question. Follow the money. Do what makes them money. Maybe you should be advertising with them as well. I don't know.
So and going back to Clint's point right here is that Google, I mean, over the last year, we saw this during the pandemic, small businesses shutting down, which is the majority of their profit. Like in a lot of queries now, everything above the fold, and then after you scroll for a while, you can't even really find the organic anymore in a lot of industries. So again, this goes back to the point that I've been making for years, is learn PPC and learn how to set up a campaign, drive some leads, you know, get your chops going, because PPC is one thing definitely that is not going to be going away. You know, there's algorithm updates and, you know, Google and all that kind of stuff, you know, with the organic, but learn some PPC, and then all of a sudden you're upselling and you've got another profit center right there in your business. And if you do PPC right, those clients stick around as long as, or longer than SEO clients. As long as you're bringing in calls and they're getting leads and things like that. You know, again, it's another. It just makes sense if we're.
There is something to be said with someone being content with the ranking you've given them and not needing you anymore, versus you're converting for them on a direct optimization level all the time ongoing.
Yeah, then you just cut off the ads, you know.
And tying those together into an individual contract itself is a good way to keep the revenue for both of them. So
that's a good point.
I think Corey makes a really good point about bringing someone in or learning PPC. It's a skill that I think needs to be around everybody that makes money online, no matter what you're doing.
Well, what we're also seeing, right? And you guys have probably all been online as longer than me, but you know, you don't want to call it a trend before it's a trend, but Google makes money with PPC, period. And they're going to continue to do things that help them make money with that revenue source. And so more featured snippets for different types of things, like the algorithm changes. Yes, we got to kind of adjust and adapt to that, but it's always going to move in the direction of Google wanting to make money with what they're doing, right? Which is,
it will never change.
That's not going to change. Their business model necessitates that. And so if you're not able to then offer this thing that it's not even necessarily supplemental. It can be like the only thing you do. People make money all day long with just PPC, have a site that doesn't even rank anywhere. But being able to do that, there's so many benefits to it. And in one way, shape, or form, like, we call ourselves SEOs, but understanding the nature of what that is, like understanding the nature of Google or of Bing or Yahoo or DuckDuckGo or YouTube for that matter. Like if you're running paid ads, you're going to get liked a little bit more by the agency that you're advertising on. And that like might not be emotional. It might just be, hey, this website or this property is getting more traffic now, and we're aware of that traffic, and those are going to be metrics that help, and they're going to help your client or your project that you're working on as well. Those are things you can turn on day one, and they're going to drive traffic, generate leads, get sales. And as you build an SEO in, like I really see them going hand in hand. And the longer I've got into this, it's like that's something I need to get better at.
This really helps out with niching down. I didn't mean to cut you off, Mike, but this also helps with niching down. I know stuff like Cam does is like you pick one niche, and I know a lot of guys do this. You're in one niche for SEO. You know what kind of content the websites need, but the same thing, you can take all the data that you collected from your PPC campaign, so you know what the negative keywords are, you know what's actually driving conversions, and you take, let's say, years worth of data and tens of thousands of clicks and hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars worth of data, and you parachute that right into a brand new campaign. They're profitable right out the gate, like immediately, and especially when you set up a landing page that has been tested for tens of thousands of clicks, A/B tested, and we pull the best out of everything. That's the kind of stuff that you can niching down, especially in PPC, is something that you can really make a lot of money in if you are really the expert. And what are some of those things that would separate you? Well, it's our data set of working with clients that are in the same industry. We're going to take all this big data, the same thing that Google does and Amazon and Facebook. That's how they make their billions, is they've got big data, and now we're getting to use some of that big data, and we're going to drop it right into your campaign.
It's SEO, and I honestly think people need to kind of just look at it as the search engine optimization part, because it doesn't say just organic, it doesn't say this or that. It's literally digital marketing that go hand in hand. This is interesting, looking
that is interesting.
Murrieta, I mean, that is the case. It's the pages are broken up into so many different sections that
you're probably finding one of Mike's mini nets is what's
yeah. He does a lot of bathroom remodeling.
It just happens, dude. It's
the walk-in tubs.
I need the one that's for the old people, dude. After I broke my neck,
I like to get the walk-in tubs, but then never open the door. Just to have it. You got to step like really over. I like living on the edge, so I like to see if I can get it when it's all slippery.
Dukes of Hazzard style. You just slide up over the top.
I'm wearing Daisy Dukes. Yeah.
Bo and Luke Duke right there.
Yeah. Burn my butt cheeks a little bit.
Here's something I want to get to before we go. Do I have too many follow backlinks and I'm being penalized by Google for it? This person read that they have too large of a percentage of do follow backlinks that they will be penalized.
I've honestly never looked at the ratio.
It's probably not that they're do follow. I would look at the anchor text. So a good way to water that down is just
optimize.
Just throw a bunch of go
URL based.
Like there used to be a site called Social Adder. There's a couple others that you could use out there, but just get a bunch of social links back to that and water it down. And I've used that on national campaigns where I've started, and I'm like, every single one of these pages has got just exact match links going to it. They're not doing so well, and then I just come in and water it down. And all of those are no follow anyway. From You
want to know? I was a little tricksy. It's like a 20-page site with 16,000.
You're a little tricksy.
About
what the hell does that mean?
Removal. So 16,500 links about mosquito removal. I have a feeling something's going on there besides do follow. So, but no, it's interesting because the sales, the focusing on all the digital marketing, I think that for the people that are out there that are brand new out there that are watching right now, that what I want to start with Fletch. Like, what's the most important thing out of kind of what we've touched on today, and thinking from an agency owner standpoint, because there's a lot of them today. What would be the most important thing to kind of take away from today, dude?
So I've talked about it on this podcast before, but like, just understanding business is three things, right? You need traffic, you need conversion, you need something to offer, right? Your offer, your product delivery. Look at those, right? Look and try to understand where the bottleneck is, like where the sticking point right now for you is. If you're listening to this, it's likely not on your knowledge of SEO,
right?
But it might be on your ability and systems to deliver SEO.
Yeah.
Right. And so you can pull these apart a little bit more. Like, you've got to be able to offer the thing you're offering. Just knowing about it is not going to be enough. Because when you get to that place, you have to actually implement it to get your new client or customer results. But at that point, when you've got that kind of handled, now you're just looking at getting more traffic and working on your conversion, and you can kind of start to pare things down and know where you need to focus right now. And so for me, it's been very, very helpful to be able to understand business in that frame very simply, and then only work on the thing that's the bottleneck, the thing that's restricting your ability to
TQM.
Kantian
philosophy.
You just make it simple, and then do the thing that's keeping you from getting more results, more clients, more customers, onboarding more, delivering more, whatever it might be. All you got to do is focus on the thing that's limiting you, and the results open up quite a bit.
When you said systems, I really do think like that's one thing that like I've really kind of learned from Brad, and what Brad's really helped me kind of lock down are the systems. The systems are extremely important. Without them, you're kind of spinning wheels and just sitting and doing nothing. And that's what I like about what's developed with NFG over the years, is that I'm sitting here looking at what we have in front of us, and it's come together to the point now where, okay, little pieces of the content need to be put together in a different way at this point, and there is a full system for lead generation, for sales and agency. Like it's all right there, utilizing like the system. When I say the system, I do mean like Blackwood, and then just the clustering systems and everything. Like you have it's not rocket science. And one of the things when you said the new people about
couldn't be, or I wouldn't be able to do
it. Like you got trying to gain too much knowledge. Like you might have more than you need is what it comes down to.
I've been guilty of that myself. Getting more and more into nuances of search engine optimization and exactly what I'm going to do on page or with, other sites I own and control. And it's like, well, am I having problems ranking? That's not always about not knowing enough. It may just be about not implementing enough. And and if that is the case, really looking at your systems of implementation is going to open up a lot for you, which then helps you convert and sell better because you're a lot more confident in your ability to deliver results for the people and the projects you're working on. Yeah.
Checklists really help me out because then you can't, you're not scatterbrained. If you've got it all, down, you're like,
throw the whole thing. You've got a checklist like in Trello or whatever.
And step 1, step 2, step 3.
Yeah. And I think going back to what Mike said earlier, like when we started, is that you might be implementing 20% of what because, it's like, you know what works. So this 20% is going to have 80% of the impact on your SEO campaigns. And not that you forget everything else, you've got those tools there for the right project if you need them. But typically, once you've done this enough times, you've got a really good idea of what it's going to take that number one spot. And from a content perspective, from an on-site perspective, from an off-site perspective, and then it becomes and that's how you can build your systems after you understand what it is that you actually have to do. You do want to approach every project with fresh eyes, but knowing that, even before you close the deal, just like, okay, this is going to be a win. This is going to be a win. Yeah. This is going to be a win. And then you close it and you crush it.
Brad, what about you? Any last words?
No, the checklist. Getting down your process is what, all the other guys said.
Micah, I got you,
really
Micah.
Hey, can you send it to me too, Corey?
Can you send me yours, Brad?
Yeah. You send me yours and I'll send you mine.
Always. Any more? There's a couple of other things that came through. Give me that checklist. Yes, we will, Micah, if you ask nicely.
If you let me ride in your dump truck or whatever your
I've had some interesting rides with Micah.
Big cat dozer, man.
yeah, that's why I was looking. I was looking for the word dozer, but it wasn't coming to me. So
My
point
Bobcat.
LSI on it.
I'm
Backhoes,
here with
not
vocabulary.
Lambos. I
Yeah.
sent Mike Long a picture one time that said backhoes, not Lambos, and it had a picture of my Lambo. Out
Dude,
there.
so here's the thing. So
Backhoe.
Lamborghini made tractors.
Did they?
That's
think I've
probably
heard
going to
that.
be my first Lambo. Yeah, I'm going
awesome.
to buy a Lamborghini
Shut
tractor.
up, dude.
Didn't they all make tanks in World War II?
Yeah, they did a lot of military stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, Cat 10R.
All right. Well, that's time. And thank you everyone for your time in the audience. Thanks guys for coming on and chatting with me.
Yeah, appreciate all the good questions and feedback today. Thank you guys for all of that. It was good.
See you the next
cool.
time this week. We'll do it again.
Crush
Next
it.
week.
Win the day. Just starting.
Now we'll sit here and